Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the WTF1 podcast. Oh, it's Saudi Arabian Grand Prix edition. Oh my God. And I'm not prepared. I'm really not. I'm not over it. I don't think either of you are either as well. Tom Bellingham, the WTF1 founder. Wait, I haven't introduced you yet. Tom Bellingham, the WTF1 founder. Otherwise, I'm fired. And Katie Fairman, the WTF1 author of the annual, which you can still buy. The annual is in the link in the description. Tommy, what are you going to say?
I was going to say that normally by the time, it's Monday, we've calmed down a bit, but that race, I don't think until probably FP1 in Abu Dhabi, I'm going to be calmed down after that.
I don't think I'm going to be calm till FP1 in Abu Dhabi next year, because the race finished and I felt so pent up. I don't know if it was the same for you guys. Usually when the race finishes, they go over the line, you go, it's over. The chaos is over. Of course, we had the whole investigation, shock, and everything else going on. That I'm not over it. I'm really not. Katie, are you? You've got Christmas stuff, which maybe, makes you feel a bit better, a bit more jovial, but...
No, well, after the race finished yesterday, I think I messaged Tom and I was like, I'm ready for a podcast right now. Let's do it. Let's bring it on. But I think maybe sleeping on it has been good, composing my thoughts. But yeah, that was just absolutely obscene what we witnessed yesterday. And it's going to be one of those races that will be talked about for years and years and years to come.
Yes, it will. And we're going to talk about it for probably 3 hours now. So settle yourself in, strap your seatbelts. Let's get into some 3-word race reviews. JJ World Adventures, what just happened? Laurie_Sant, this track sucks. And Tabor Sky Pavol, what a yoke.
Is that a Fernando Alonso reference?
It is. It is, Katie.
I watch F1.
With the memes. Yeah, you know about El Plan as well, I bet. So yeah, there you go. I mean, pretty. The track sucking, I don't agree with. I think there needs to be changes, which we'll obviously talk about, as with everything else. But look, Tommy, let's dive straight into your 3-word race review. Yes,
here we go. Mine is embarrassing driving standards.
Oh,
it hurts.
God! Oh, we're going straight in.
We're going straight in.
There's no foreplay here.
No, and goodness me. Yeah, I obviously don't hide the fact that I'm a big fan of Max Verstappen and like his aggressive driving style. And
where's the cape? Has it been burned yet? No, it's there.
Have obviously felt like a lot of his driving has been aggressive this year, but most of it okay. For me, it was so far above what is acceptable, in my opinion, that even I cannot even defend him for it, to be honest. It was pretty appalling a lot of the time. I mean, for me, one of the most annoying ones is actually the very first incident where on the restart, when Hamilton gets the lead quite easily into the corner, there's absolutely 0% chance that you can get around the outside and make the move. There's not 1% that move is ever on. And to be able to just cut over the runoff, push your rival wide. I don't want to make this about the stewards because we'll go into that later, but and then just get the position back. Yeah. Then obviously you see the good side of Max Verstappen where he makes a super aggressive dive down the inside. Absolutely awesome. That's the good side of Max's aggressive driving style, very marginal, but aggressive and brilliant. But then, we get another incident that seemed very similar to Brazil to me, where, he's pushing Hamilton wide and a lot of people are going, oh, well, Hamilton went off the track, but it's like, well, if Max pushes him off the track with a late lunge, where else is he meant to go? And then the DRS incident, which it's now been found out that he actually did slam the brakes on, which is not good at all. Yeah, I think it was a bit farcical. I mean, Hamilton, I wouldn't say he's 100% innocent in the whole DRS chicken detection thing. He had plenty of time to react, so I wouldn't say he's totally innocent. But yeah, Max in particular, his driving was absolutely appalling, to be honest. And it was quite farcical. And I think even as a fan of Max, if he'd won the title in the way he had in that race, I think it would have soured it a little bit for me. And big shame. I hope it doesn't carry on into the finale.
Right, Tommy, thank you so much for your time on the podcast. You now need to go and bombard your house from all the Dutch Max fans. I'm glad you said it, because I am of the complete same opinion, because it was, in my opinion, and remember, we are all allowed one, it was desperate. It was, as you say, especially the one where Hamilton was clear into turn one. If it's a completely different turn one and you can hang it around the outside, maybe, I don't know, a Brazil maybe is something where you can go side by side into the center S's, then fair enough. But this, we've seen it throughout the entire weekend. It is never on. Even when you're side by side, a lot of the time they either have to cut across the runoff or back out of it. What he did there, and then cutting over obviously he then tried to make the corner, made it look like, or tried to almost make it look like, he was trying to go for the corner, it was a legit move and whatever. But for me, he knew that if Hamilton was clear, that was it. Hamilton would drive away and he would win the race, and Verstappen would have to settle for second at best. So it was desperate. It didn't feel right. I mean, if that was just the one instant, fair enough, we could talk about it, fine. But then there was, of course, as you mentioned, the one where he slid wide, which again is more racing incident in terms of like, compared to the first one. You can't say that was as desperate, but at the same time, he was out of control of his car, but smelt a lot like Brazil. And yet the stewards decided to treat that completely differently, which obviously we'll go into. It was, sorry, Katie, just to sum up. It didn't feel right to me watching that. Lewis tried to keep it and people can throw around British bars as much as they want. Lewis tried to keep it as clean as possible. And Max tried everything in his power and over to stop Lewis winning that race. And some of it, I think, was unfair.
I completely agree with both you guys. It's really disappointing as someone who's sat through this whole season so far. We've sat here on this podcast, we've praised Max. Like, look at our ABCDEF1 rankings. Like, the guy's got an A or an A star for almost every single race this year, because although he is aggressive, he's also supremely talented with it. And that kind of driving style has lent itself to making sure that he's up there with Lewis Hamilton, a 7-time world champion. Like, that's not an easy task to do, but he's just really let himself down in Saudi. There weren't, like you say, there wasn't just one move that was a little bit controversial like we saw in Brazil. It seemed to be one thing after another thing. And although, yes, Max is younger, he hasn't got the experience that Lewis has. You've got to remember, I think Max is 24, Lewis is 36. So they're both drivers and very different parts of their careers. But still, like, it was just massively disappointing. And I don't want, all this speculation going into the final race. Could Max crash Lewis out and have an incident like that? Because in theory, because they're now tied on points, he's got more wins, so he could secure the championship in that way. But it's just really, like Tommy said, put a sour taste in, I think, a lot of people's mouths, because we've seen our fair share of eventful races, the ball swinging in both courts. That's definitely not a phrase, but I made it one, of like where Max has done things that are questionable. Hamilton might have done things that are questionable and they've been penalised accordingly. Silverstone, Monza, perfect examples. But this just seemed to be Verstappen crossing that line, and not just by like a tiny margin, like a big step over the line. And he's got to bring it back for Abu Dhabi. Otherwise, if Max wins this championship this week, then I feel like there's going to be quite a lot of fans disappointed in the manner at which he, behaved himself in these last few races.
Yeah, he has to show that he's learned from this, in my opinion. I don't think he will, just purely from his comments after the race and, being voted driver of the day, which I found absolutely mind-boggling. But, things like that, I think he is very stubborn and set in his ways, and I don't think he will go into Abu Dhabi with any kind of different mindset. Hello, Frank. How you doing, mate? You good? You well? Perfect. Next question. Well, actually, first question. At Hanifan Matthew, the fight between Max and Lewis was amazing when they were racing hard, but this weekend displayed childish tactics in an attempt to gain a lead. The lack of maturity from the teams and drivers was awful. Do you think something should be done to combat this? I don't know, from drivers. I'm not sure if you're putting Lewis into that as well. I'm not sure exactly where that is, but obviously the maturity from the teams comes from. To be fair, I mean, there was a case of telling the teacher a little bit from both parts, and you can tell Max in particular was getting quite frustrated on the team radio from what we heard. To combat it, I don't really know what can be done apart from racing fair and clean and by the rules. Obviously, the rules need to be made a lot clearer, as we will go into. But, it was, there was moaning about the 10 car length behind when you're lining up to the grid, or Max doing a start in the pit lane. It was literally like, oh no, he's done this. No, he's done this. And I just wanted to be focused on the racing a little bit. It did become a little bit farcical, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we can't underestimate the amount of pressure that these drivers are under. If they can get an extra, good point, or tell a teacher on the other one, if they think that's going to help with the championship, then they'll do it, because these guys are at the pinnacle of motorsport. And we've said countless times with the rules and regulations that if there are loopholes, then teams and drivers will try and take them. But yeah, in terms of what can be done, I don't really know. It's not like we're going to, have a live stream of them both in therapy being like, I'm really sorry and I'm really sorry, and let's hug and kiss and make up. I mean, don't get me wrong, F1 are missing a trick if they don't do that. But yeah, this is just the pressure cooker of Formula One. And I think both drivers, it's very evident that they are number one in their team, especially for somebody like Red Bull. We know the kind of person Christian Horner is. Max is the golden child, he's definitely the favorite son, if you like. But has it got to a point now where maybe Christian Horner's gone too far and Max is almost believing in all of the, I don't know how, but like Christian Horner will twist things in a way that it's like Max is never in the wrong. It's always let them race. It's never that was crossing a line. And maybe Max has got caught up in all of that. And I think Toto's similar kind of thing. I think he's a bit more level-headed than Christian, but maybe the same with Lewis is that we've definitely seen a side to Toto this year that I would argue we haven't seen before, which is quite cutthroat and being quite gossipy to the media, whether that's slating maybe Bottas publicly after Mexico, for example, or just slating Christian Horner and calling him a windbag. Like it is kind of like unprecedented times. But yeah, I'm not sure, apart from sort of banging their heads together and saying, cut it out, what much else there is going to be that you can do.
Yeah, this is kind of new territory a little bit in terms of if you'd had, I guess this is the first proper intense battle we've had for a very, very, very long time. And it's a new era where we've got things like FIA team radio, there's more team radio than ever. There's drivers on social media. There's all this kind of stuff that we've never experienced before. And Formula One themselves know what the narrative is here, and they deliberately are picking constantly every slight dig on the radio from Hamilton about Max or Max about Hamilton. They're going to play it, and yeah, they're obviously it was constant throughout the race of like, he's doing this, he's doing that, telling the teacher kind of thing. It's hard for me. This goes in a little bit into the stewarding, but it comes. We said in the Brazil podcast that them not even investigating would set a dangerous precedent going into the last two rounds. And for me, this is almost like the consequence of that going, of the drivers kind of being like, all right, if you don't penalize pushing each other off and all this kind of stuff, then we'll just do it. And there doesn't seem to be any kind of set rules of what you can and can't do in a title fight. And it's clear that both drivers are just going to do what they can. So yeah, it's hard. It's hard because at the end of the day, they are racing for the ultimate prize in F1, and they are going to want to do everything. But until the FIA or anyone step in, there's not really a lot they can do about it.
Nope. And well, it's similar. I think when the season ends, it'll probably all just calm down. And, whoever wins, hopefully, fingers crossed, there won't be 700 investigations after Abu Dhabi. Yeah, it makes me think of boxing when they're just constantly just going at each other. But then at the same time, they don't, like Lewis in particular doesn't really say anything in the media, doesn't bite at all. I was expecting a good old nibble from Lewis Hamilton after this race. But
he did he said basically like the rules don't apply to Verstappen.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I mean, he always does it in a roundabout way. He never goes, Max was a right bleep, does he? Or anything like that, which I think, is maybe, it's not as bad as things like boxing. But anyway, there is always going to be a bit of mudslinging, and interesting stuff. Next question. There's so much to talk about. It's frightening. Juliet_Jewel. Why did Hamilton want to stay behind Verstappen? They are racing drivers. Isn't it in their nature to pass whenever they see a tiny opportunity? This whole incident is so confusing. For many reasons. I think both drivers are at fault. I think Max is more at fault. But then I also think the FIA is at fault because the FIA did not tell Red Bull and Mercedes at the same time that they are going to swap the cars. So as far as we are aware, Mercedes and Lewis Hamilton did not know that Max was going to slow down and let him through. However, there's so many factors to this because, of course, firstly, Max Verstappen, he knew exactly what he was doing. And as soon as Lewis didn't play game with going past at a point that he absolutely knew Max was going to then DRS straight back down the straight and into turn one, probably take him back. Verstappen obviously saw that Hamilton was not playing game and braked harder. And that's where he got the penalties because he did 2.4G worth of force or something, which caused, Hamilton to crash into the back. How Lewis Hamilton and his car survived that with his front wheel not coming off, I do not know. And then, there's a whole different debate as to the penalty given out, which we will get into, and whether or not if Lewis's wheel had come off, it would have been the same penalty. Why I think Hamilton wanted to stay behind Verstappen is one, a bit of confusion. Why the hell is Max slowing down? This is a bit weird. I've not been told anything. And two, the DRS, the whole thing about the DRS. Like he knew if he was going to go past Verstappen, and he probably has in the back of his mind, racing drivers are hugely capable to think about a million different things and race a Formula One car. He knows that probably Verstappen at that point, in split-second decision has been told to give back the position, but he knows that turn 27 is not the place he wants to go past for Max to then get back past again. The rest is history. Like why Hamilton then crashed into the back of him or didn't go round him. Because if Hamilton had just flown past, I reckon he probably would have been fine into turn one because he would have had a clear enough gap out of turn 27. But the whole thing is just an absolute farce. I could not believe I was watching it.
I think it shows that Max has maybe got into Lewis's head a little bit. Well, I say a lot actually, because if that's a back marker or any other car in front of him breaking down, Hamilton just goes past him and overtakes him. And yes, there's all this talk of like the onboard and, he's not got enough room. I don't think that's true personally. No, I know Max was in the middle of the track, but you can see from the
more to the left.
You can see from the bird's eye view that there was room to go there. And Lewis is an exceptional racing driver, and equally the same as Max. They know what they're doing. They're two drivers that will do everything they can to get an advantage. We've seen Hamilton play DRS chicken with Alonso before when I think it was a Canada a few years back, and they both came to the line and Hamilton dabbed like the brake or eased off the accelerator. Alonso knew what he was doing. They both eased off, and because they wanted to they knew they could get past each other on the straight. It was quite a long time that this was happening. So it's not like it was Max slammed the brakes on immediately and Lewis went into the back of him. Hamilton 100% knew that he's playing DRS chicken here. I don't want to pass him now. And then obviously the problem is that Max then slammed the brakes on heavier, which is appalling. But yeah, I guess again, it kind of comes down to a few things. One of them, this has never been put in place and it's never been seen before, but you're almost surprised it's not, because we did see a little bit of DRS chicken going on throughout the race. We saw it with Bottas and Ricciardo a little bit, where some people, you kind of ease off because you don't want to pass in a certain section to use DRS. For me, the solution is get rid of DRS and use push to pass instead. But I think even if that's not going to happen going forward, F1 need to have a closer look at DRS and do concrete rules of, if you're letting someone through, you can't, you're letting someone through, you can't do it in like the DRS zone. Because another thing that didn't even mention is Max's move straight after when he did let him through.
That's not allowed, is it?
It's not allowed because Hamilton.
Thank you. I'm so happy. I was literally sat there like,
it's
literally you can't do that.
They put that rule in place because Hamilton did it. Ironically, it's Hamilton. It's a rule again that Hamilton, when he was Max's age, going for his first title at Spa. Yeah. Hamilton ran wide, needed to get the place back, and then he just dived up the inside as soon as he gave and they were like, no, you can't do that anymore. They gave him a penalty. They said you can't do it anymore. And that was now the rule, that if you let someone by, you can't go by at the next corner. So that wasn't even legal anyway. He didn't get a penalty for that, did he? No.
But that's the confusion. Obviously, we will get into the
rules,
the penalties, but at the same time, we kind of have to also speak about it. But
yeah,
my understanding, and it's obviously not clear at all, and that's one of the big problems that the FIA had during that race, is that obviously Verstappen got given that 5-second penalty for turn 1, and then he was given the opportunity to give the place back. Then he overtook Hamilton after giving the place back and still got the penalty. So I think in my head, the FIA just haven't communicated properly that Verstappen did not do that whole relinquishing the position well enough, so they gave him the 5-second penalty. But for me, it should be, Max, you've just, like, if they're doing this whole deal, they surely would come over the radio and go, well, Max didn't give that back properly.
No, they need to say you need to give it back in the next 3 laps, or you get a 5-second penalty. It needs to be done and dusted.
There was so many laps as well, wasn't there? There was 3 laps before we even knew if you had to give it back.
Well, we had no idea what was going on. No one had any idea what was going on. It's like, what's the rule here? Because he's crashed into the back of him. You don't know what's going on. Chaos. Yeah, it's just ridiculous, really.
It is stupid. And it was quite amusing. So I watched both the Sky coverage and then Channel 4 coverage later on in the UK. DC, David Coulthard, seemed to think that the move that Max pulled after letting Hamilton by and then retaking the position was fine.
I wonder why.
Yes. Yeah.
What team did he drive for?
Yes.
Who does he often get
private? Yeah. Who does he get private jets with? I wonder. From track to track. But the whole thing was just daft. And the media picked up on the fact that the DRS detection line was ahead, and was putting this question to Toto, Christian, some of the drivers, and they're all going, "Oh, was it there? I didn't realise."
They both do.
Yeah. Well, exactly. So then they went to the stewards, and it says clear as day in the stewards' decision document, it was obvious that neither driver wanted to take the lead prior to the DRS detection line 3. So both drivers, whether they flat out admitted it or alluded to it heavily in the steward's office, it's obvious that was what was going on. Do I think Verstappen could have moved over to the right more? Undoubtedly. Should Hamilton have gone past sooner in the gap available? Totally. Should the FIA have prioritised the order in which they gave the in which they gave the communication? Yes. I think, Michael Massey can only do so much. He's not an octopus. He can't push all these buttons and speak to all these different people at the same time. Like I get that. But if you think about it, if you're telling the person in front, right, you need to let them by, Max wants to get that over and done with as soon as possible. So they're going to relay that straight back to Max and go, right, you need to let Hamilton past. In that time, Michael Massey then has to go over to Mercedes and say, this is what's going to happen. But switch it round. Say, okay, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to ask Verstappen to give the position up. So please make your driver aware of that this could be happening in the next few laps or whatever. It's a tight and twisty track with blind corners all around the place. And I just think that was a silly decision from the FIA, which really, Katie thinks something stupid.
You haven't even got into your 3-word race review yet. We've already absolutely demolished the FIA.
But yeah, I think like you guys say, everyone is to blame partly, but Verstappen should have the majority of the blame, which is what the FIA decided.
Yeah, Max, fair enough, tried to play DRS chicken. Completely accept that. Tried to let Lewis through. Fine, bit of gamesmanship. But then braking harder, like he was playing iRacing or something. Or like it's literally like an F1 game move. Like that's something you try and do and you don't really care. Oh, I'll slam on the brakes a bit more. It's literally real life. Like, and I feel like that somehow has kind of crossed over to him. And fair enough, if it had worked, he would have looked like a genius. But yeah, it was clear
I
that
was
it was
so worried that was just game over for Hamilton.
Oh, well, I thought
I
Ocon was
messaged
gonna
in
win.
the chat and I was like, oh my God, is this how Max is going to win the championship? Because if Hamilton didn't score points and Verstappen was able to take first or second,
just a stop-go penalty, fine.
Championship, championship won. And I was like, no, please, no, I don't want to end this way.
I'm so shocked that both those drivers managed to finish the race after that. I thought Hamilton was going to be finished. I thought
Hamilton had damaged wing already.
I thought Verstappen may have got a puncture from that. Nope, it was absolutely fine. They both just carried on their merry way. Anyway, next question. Damn it, Jason says, a more legitimate question. With Max winning the tiebreaker over Lewis, what prevents him from wrecking them both to secure the world championship? Do the stewards have the autonomy to assess any type of point penalty? Well, so I mean,
hide your pictures in the background.
Literally, yeah.
No
and now over to the Schumacher fanboy. What's your opinion of this, Matt?
Shut it. Obviously, yes, if they both crash, Max will win because he's had more race wins this season. However, I don't think Max will go to that level of taking out Lewis on purpose. I think that his driving this weekend was, as we've mentioned, pretty appalling and shows that he will do anything to win the title. I just don't know how far he's going to go. So that's something that's going to kind of unfold. But if Max is deemed to have taken Lewis out on purpose to win the world championship, he could be disqualified. No cap. I don't know why I keep saying that. I said it in IBR as well. But yeah, it's literally like that can happen. So Max can't just simply rear end Lewis off the start like we've seen in championship deciders before in the past and get away with it. But that is going to be if that happens. Can you imagine waiting for that decision? I just pray. I pray that does not happen. But after this season, literally, I'm not writing off anything.
No, I mean, like you say, nothing is going to prevent him from doing it. I'd like to think in his character, he doesn't have it in him, that he wants to fight this much the same as Hamilton does, wheel to wheel to the end and win it fair and square.
And for the good of his career as well.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Like, he would be booed to kingdom come for the rest of his life if he took out Lewis Hamilton, for example, in a lot of the races, in my opinion. Obviously not the Dutch Grand Prix and some others maybe. But I think he knows that he wants to win this properly and on track and be the faster car. I don't know what will happen if he is second and Lewis is first. That's something after the Saudi. I wouldn't have said that before Saudi Arabia. Now I don't know.
Well, we have seen it before, as we sort of alluded to, that in 1997, the championship leader, Michael Schumacher... No,
Jacques Villeneuve turned in on him.
Did crash into his championship rival, Jacques Villeneuve, to defend the race lead at the final round of the championship at the European Grand Prix. As a result, Schumacher was deemed at fault for the incident and was punished by being stripped of his second place in the championship. I mean, that would just be... It's
not like a Jeremy Clarkson, oh no, anyway. I mean,
it was like, you have been banned. Yeah.
Oh no, I didn't finish second.
But then again, 94, he got away with it and flipped into the wall and, he hit the wall
Senna got away with it in the 90s and I guess Prost as well. Is kind of... The fact that sort of Senna is Hamilton's biggest hero and now essentially Hamilton's almost going up against a driver like Senna who's willing to ram him off the road to win the title or kind of get every advantage he can. I mean,
that's coming from a Max Verstappen fan, everybody watching, by the way. That's Tommy is a Max Verstappen fan. Thank you.
See, I don't think that he would. I think he's going to do everything he can in his power, similar to, I guess you could argue similar to what Hamilton did in 2016, where, he backed up Rosberg. It wasn't particularly sporting, but he wants to win a world title. So he's going to do everything he can in his...
that's the line, isn't it?
Yeah,
that's the line.
So he wasn't crashing into him. He wasn't doing anything absolutely ridiculous, like slamming on the brakes. But the thing is, I can see Max doing something like that. I'm sure he'll probably go for an absolute dive bomb at the hairpin or something and have a go. I really hope it doesn't come to that. But unfortunately, the way the way Saudi Arabia went, I like to think that I thought there's absolutely no way that's going to happen, and I was actually quite annoyed by the narrative that people were pushing that they're going to be equal on points and Max is just going to crash into him to win the title. And I was like, no, that's not fair. You can't really say that. But then after Saudi, I can't say that there's not a little bit of my brain quite concerned that that could happen. And like you say, it'd be such a rubbish way to win the world title, regardless of whether you believe that, you know, Max should have won it anyway because he had all these failures in Baku and got taken out by Bottas and stuff. If he takes Hamilton out to win the title, regardless of whether he should have won it anyway and had bad luck along the way, it's not going to go down well. And I don't think deep down that any Verstappen fan would want and be happy about it. So, yeah, we'll see.
Not sure if you've watched Twitter recently, Tommy. I know you don't watch Twitter anymore. Next question. Let's dive straight into Botzilla. Says, do you think that despite being one of, if not the closest title battles ever, the constant drama on and off the track will leave some kind of cloud over this season from the sporting perspective? Yes. You know, there's a lot of, as I've mentioned, mudslinging going on between especially Mercedes and Red Bull, Toto Wolff and Christian Horner, and, you know, all kinds of investigations and whatever. I think some drama is obviously great, and drama does sell. Like, don't get me wrong. Have you seen Drive to Survive? Like, this season is going to be absolutely insane. I think it will, if the last race comes down to anything but just great racing, whoever's fastest wins, then the whole season will be fine. If that's it, if that's how it goes down. If they crash, then we've got another very sour taste, I think, left in our mouths. No matter who wins. If Hamilton or Verstappen win because of a crash, it's going to be a massive anticlimax. I think of, you know, when they crash in Monza, you know, you kind of go, it's big drama, but at the same time, I kind of wanted to watch them race. And that's the whole point. We're here to watch them race, not who can crash the best. So, yeah, I hope that the last race will just sum it up nicely. We'll have a great bit of racing with an updated Abu Dhabi track, and then we're all good. But how likely is it that we're going to get a boring race? Well, to be fair, Thomas' prediction, I think, is that. But I mean, probably unlikely.
I thought that. I was like, at least the final race is Abu Dhabi, where not a lot happens, and it might just be a big anticlimax where Hamilton wins and Verstappen's third and just can't get anywhere near him anyway. But look at Sochi and Paul Ricard and all the races we thought were going to be terrible. So you never know.
I don't think we're getting a rainstorm in Abu Dhabi, but yes.
No, but still, you can't really write anything off this season. But in terms of, I've kind of already gone into it that I don't want a title to be decided that way. And I don't think deep down, regardless of what people say on Twitter, I don't think deep down people would want their driver to win a title in such a way.
No, I've said this throughout the whole season, from the first sort of incidents we had at the beginning of the year to Silverstone to Monza. I am one of these fans. I don't want to be seeing all these big crashes. Yes, it might be great for the media side of things and getting the attention of
Sky Sports showing that
replay.
Crash every time with Merry Christmas.
Yeah, I know. I was like, what?
It's insane, isn't it?
It's so strange. I'm like, like the halo is saving Lewis Hamilton's life, and it's like, Merry Christmas. But I would so much rather see wheel-to-wheel action. You know, if it has to come down to it being won through strategy calls, then that's also, it's not a great part of Formula One, like in the same sense as if you watch them fighting on track. But I'd much rather a championship be decided through something like that than a crash, because like they've said, I think that would really leave a disappointing end to what has been an unbelievable season. And what I don't want is for 10 years' time, people to look back and not think, wow, 2021 really was the most incredible season ever, but instead think, oh yeah, that was the year that like Lewis and Max were sort of like going at it all the time, and then it ended in a crash, and it was like a really bad ending to the season. That's not what this season deserves. It deserves something better than that.
It's funny that you kind of
get upset.
When I was growing up, everyone lauded the whole and every sort of like F1 video I ever watched, it was always like, oh, the Senna and Prost era was the best. But now we're kind of living in that era where there are collisions between them, and it gets a bit silly sometimes. You're actually like, in my opinion anyway, it's like, this isn't actually very nice. I'd much rather them go wheel to wheel and not crash into each other and just have a good battle. I don't want to see them crashing into each other. I want Silverstone before the crash, not the crash. Basically.
Exactly.
I want half a lap of racing. That's great.
Yeah.
This podcast is brought to you by Rev Motorsport. Rev Racing is a game where you can play and earn an in-game currency, which can be converted into real-life money. And Rev is the utility token that serves as the primary currency of purchase, utility, and action across all Rev Motorsport blockchain games by Animoca brands. If you already have one of the exclusive WTF1 NFT cars, you'll be entitled to be airdropped a WTF1 catalyst item to upgrade your car to the next level. If you don't have one of our cars, but you're interested in getting involved with Rev Motorsport and Rev Racing, you can head over to OpenSea.io and look up Rev Racing to see all of their NFT cars. For more information on the upgrade system, the link is in the description below. There are loads of games in the Rev Motorsport ecosystem, so what are you waiting for? Get involved with Rev Racing, earn some real-life cash, and have fun while doing it. We'll see you on track. Next up, we have Beer 52. What's better than 8 free beers? That's right, 10. The festive season is upon us, and in the spirit of giving and charity, Beer 52 are offering listeners 10 free beers. All you have to do is go to www.beer52.com/WTF1 and cover the £5.95 for postage to claim your free case. What's more, do it before the 17th of December and get 2 extra beers. But remember, you have to be over 18. Beer 52 is a beer club like no other. They send experts around the globe to find the best beer available anywhere on planet Earth. Each month, their members receive a new case, usually from a different part of the world. Members have had beer from more than 40 countries across 5 continents. If dark beer's not your thing, simply choose the light option. As well as all the delicious beer, you'll receive Ferment magazine, which delves into the beers, breweries and theme. You'll also get 2 delicious snacks to wash down with the beer. After redeeming your first case, you'll join the monthly beer club, £24 per month, no minimum commitment, pause or cancel at any time. Manscaped is the leader in men's below-the-waist grooming, and they have served more than 4 million men worldwide. Get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com with the code WTF1. Manscaped's best-selling product is the Performance Package 4.0, which is at the top of every list this year. Inside, you'll find their lawnmower body trimmer and the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer. Let's not forget their famous liquid formulations, the Crop Preserver Ball Deodorant and Crop Reviver Ball Toner as well. Get the Performance Package now to receive their 2 free gifts, the Manscaped Boxers and the Shed Travel Bag. These formulations are all vegan, cruelty-free, dye-free, sulfate-free and paraben-free, so you know their products are legit. Make sure you hurry to their site to ensure these wild gifts show up before the holiday season. And while you're at it, get 20% off plus free shipping at manscaped.com with the code WTF1. Whether this is for your partner, dad, brother, friend, get them something that they will actually use and is almost sure to get a laugh. Right, let's get back to the podcast. Right, Katie. Why don't we give you the mic for the next 25 minutes and give us your 3-word race review? Thank you.
Well, before I get into my 3-word race review, I'd just like to say I absolutely adore the number of tweets I got in preparation for this rant. You all knew it was coming. Good old FIA rant for myself. Literally only a week ago or 2 weeks ago, I was saying, I think I'm going to give the FIA rants a rest now. I think I've said all I need to say. And then
into Saudi
Arabia happened. So great. Right, so there's a whole page of notes. I'll try and keep it brief. But before we even had Formula One racing,
what's your
3-word race review?
Oh, sorry.
maybe start with that.
FIA Lost Control. Okay,
right. Tommy, sit back.
Nice
enjoy.
and spicy. Okay, yeah. Put your mics on mute, guys. So from repairing the barriers at 5:30 p.m. local time on Sunday, which delayed the F2 race, and with barriers, as we're going to later, I'm more than happy to be safe and sorry. But why did it take until 5:30 for them to realise that the barriers were damaged from a crash the day prior? I don't know. And then the horrifying crash at the start of the F2 with no visible flags for the car of Pourchaire, and then obviously Fittipaldi going up the back of him. How is that even like it's a separate incident, but being allowed to happen is just not good enough. And then on to the Formula One. I'm glad, obviously, that Schumacher was okay, but with consistency this weekend, with Leclerc crashing in the same place at FP2, and in so many races or qualifying sessions this year, it was evident to me that as soon as Schumacher hit that barrier and demolished it, that it would be a red flag. I messaged Tommy straight away and was like, surely that's the decision. And then I don't know if it was a case if they wanted to remove Schumacher's car and could see maybe that the barrier had been pierced or something, but it seemed pretty clear that that was going to be a red flag. Obviously, the delay in issuing the red flag undoubtedly benefited several people, Max Verstappen being one of them. And, you know, it's, I guess, quite easy for people to watch it from their comfort of their own homes, or even Lewis Hamilton himself saying the barriers didn't make that damage. But I would so much rather that it gets red flagged and the barriers are sorted and that has peace of mind. But there's no doubt that the length of time it took ruined so many races. And then we had all this bargaining over positions. Michael Massey just simply forgetting Esteban Ocon existed when he was doing one of his bargaining tools by saying, I'll let Max have P2. That was a really bad Michael Massey.
That wasn't too bad, actually.
Oh, thank you. I've been practicing it all year with my of him forgetting that Esteban Ocon existed. And then it was like a scene from Deal or No Deal, making deals with the devil. To be honest, I feel like a game of spin the wheel would have been more appropriate to decide some of the incidents by the stewards. There's absolutely no consistency, or they seem really hesitant to give a penalty in which maybe there's been a similar incident at some point in the weekend or in the F2 or whatever. I just don't understand why it's okay. That's an exact replica of what happened in F2, slam dunk, 5-second penalty, yada, yada, yada. It's evident there's a lot to do during such a chaotic race. Perhaps the lack of experience from Michael Massey, plus the stressful nature of the job isn't helping. I've said before that I think being an FIA race director, although you guys crack me up with all your Katie for FIA race director comments, it's a poison chalice. It's a difficult thing to balance, but it's very evident that now I think, well, it's time for Michael Massey to go. He's got no respect from the drivers. He's got no respect from the team principals.
No respect from Katie Fairman.
No, which is obviously the most important of the lot. Yeah. That's all he cares about, is what I've heard. But I feel like this race really was the straw that broke the camel's back. I feel quite a lot of people have been fairly sympathetic with him throughout the year, understanding it's a stressful job, but the amount of Michael Massey comments that I saw in the media and from people just online yesterday was the most I've ever seen. When you have team principals saying that they miss Charlie Whiting, you know something is bad. And it's just very evident that Massey is in the deep end, and quite simply, he is drowning. So anyway, I hope that rant lived up to expectations, everybody.
It's probably less savage than I expected. I thought there was going to be a few more swear words and we are going to get demonetized. But
well, listen, I had to be careful.
No, it was good. No, thank you, Katie, for that. Yeah, I mean, we've already kind of suggested it in our first part of the podcast that Michael Massey just had absolutely no idea what he was doing. And he hasn't had an idea really for that long. Like he's been in charge for what, 2 seasons, just under 2 seasons.
Yeah, he took over straight after Whiting passed away. So that's 2019. And
we tragically lost Charlie Whiting, the legendary race director. And fair enough, like, you know, a couple of mistakes slipping through the net, fine. You know, you're new to the role or whatever. But there's been so many problems, so many issues, some of which very dangerous to marshals, to drivers themselves, you know, leaving recovery vehicles out Turkey last year when they sent them all out for qualifying and things like that, that, you know, it's not like in the heat of a moment, I need to make a decision. There's things where the decisions are being made with a huge amount of thought and, well, not a lot of thought. I thought a lot of thinking time. So yeah, I would be very happy to see a change somewhat in the FIA. There's a video going out today. It may already be live by the time you watch this podcast, around all the things that they did wrong at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and also what they've done previously as well. And that's not something we used to really saw with Charlie Whiting. I know that we didn't have the FIA team radio then, so we didn't get an insight as to how he governed and managed it. But I can't really remember a huge amount of things where Charlie Whiting was, you know, at least being, you know, called out for not doing this, not doing that. He seemed like he had a very good hold of being able to manage a lot of different things at the same time. So yeah, something needs to change. Like, it can't go on this way. It can't.
that FIA radiographic, like you said, is it couldn't be worse for Massey that has been put in, because you do get to hear all the kind of all the thought process behind it, and it doesn't give you confidence when, I appreciate that when Charlie was doing, you'd have a discussion, things would have to be done and then decided, but there's a lot of things that need a quick, snappy decision, and you just have to be decisive whether it's popular or not. And I think, this race was the biggest example of where they just completely lost control of the whole situation. They had done, again, I kind of said it, that this all started, it started a long time ago, but Brazil, that incident and this incident, all the driving, you could tell they just didn't know what to do. It felt to me that, and we'll go into this, that they just really didn't want to mess with the title and was taking every sort of everything in their power to make sure it did stay close, which I said that they might do, and then was like, no, they're probably not doing that now. But then now I feel like they definitely are, because in my opinion, there was a few things there that they could have done that wouldn't have made the title equal on points, but they chose not to do that.
And that's the thing, them steering clear of the championship is inadvertently changing the championship. And, as much as they want to, for entertainment purposes, have it as close as possible, or do maybe hypothetically they do. I don't know. It's not confirmed, obviously. If that came out and there was an actual confirmed bit of evidence, that would be F1 over. But it just feels like they are winging it. Like it literally feels like, for example, Mick Schumacher going into the wall at turn 21, which has been a danger zone for the entire weekend for both Formula 2 and Formula 1. They're in my head, you go, if someone goes in there at high speed, it's a red flag. Like it doesn't matter how, like you don't have to go and assess it first or whatever, or let's throw a safety car for a few laps, then we go and make a decision. Like there should be a hard and fast rule. Like you can't say that there's many different ways a car will go into a barrier that will cause it to be different. Like they've clearly want to take precautions, and therefore there should be a hard and fast rule of that. I don't understand why there isn't for a lot of things. I know I get racing incidents are different. You have to judge them a lot of the time, case by case. But with stuff like that, it just seems like they have no idea what they're doing, which is quite scary.
Yeah, like with Mick Schumacher's car, it was very evident that car was not going to be making its way around unaided to the pits again. There was going to have to be a recovery vehicle on track. The barriers were visibly damaged. You could see the impact that the car had had and how that had affected the barriers. So it just seemed like such, and like with Leclerc, I know that they red flagged it at the end of FP2 because there was like 3 minutes on the clock or something, and probably thought it's easier if we just red flag it. And
also they do that anyway, don't they? That's what they're doing in practice over the race.
I can't understand why that wasn't red flag sooner. I'm sorry. There might be some really technical reason as to why it wasn't red flag sooner.
But they haven't communicated that to us. No, so how else are we going to do it apart from speculating? It's
Michael Massey, I want a sit down interview with you.
Oh yeah. Oh, I would
meet me
love that.
in the car park.
Just in a car park.
Just in a car park.
In a car park near
outside Abu Dhabi circuit.
You're going to Abu Dhabi, are you now, Katie? Oh wow, I see. All right, cool. Enjoy.
Last minute cheap flight.
Yeah, amazing. Right, Team WTF1 member Sam Fahey says, should Michael Massey be allowed to make wheeler-dealer offers before stewards make their judgments, ignoring how amazing the broadcasting of it was on the FIA radio? Seems like an effort to maintain the flow and momentum of the race. He just caused confusion among the teams. I don't know what he was trying to do. Personally, I don't know if there was maintaining flow and momentum, or if he was like, I'm trying to deal with 1,000 things right now. You can have P2. How about it? I know this sort of meme or joke about deal or no deal is probably not very, because I was going to tweet it and I was like, I don't think many people, I think I'm a boomer. I don't think many people know what deal or no deal is, but I explained it in Internet Special Reactions. But it just, from a perspective of a fan, listening to that just seemed dodgy. I get what he was probably trying to do and be like, hey, take P2 or P3, Ocon exists, and otherwise I'll refer you to the stewards. But for me, as the head of the FIA, you've got to be someone that you tell the team exactly what's going down. You go, right, you did this, that was naughty, do
Yeah.
this, or you get a penalty. The way he goes about it makes, at least in my opinion, me seem as though Michael Massey doesn't feel confident to just tell the teams
100%.
what to do.
I think you've got it bang on there. I wonder if the language as well is going against him, that he's saying, I will offer you P2. No, you give that place back now, or you're getting a penalty. Even if you said that and it's the same outcome. I mean, in my opinion, Max was very fortunate that he even got that offer anyway, because but that's a different story. And
again, that probably links in again with trying not to affect the championship.
Oh, 100%. Because at the end of the day, if you look at it this way, Max has gone for a move that was never on to be behind. He was behind Lewis, gone for a move that's never on, overtaken him, pushed him wide, and then is allowed to just have another go at the next restart by putting him one place back. And you can argue that, like, that's not really fair. But, and this is me, I can't believe this is me saying this, but yeah, it's it was an absolute joke. And I think it is I felt that whole race, it was just a worry of, like, I don't want to get too involved with the title. Even things like when there was so much debris on the track and there were blind walls and stuff, and people wanting to pick up, like, you thought a marshal doesn't really want to go on that track, even under virtual safety car, that you thought throw a full safety car here, but they were kind of reluctant to, because they didn't want to, again, like, mess with things. It really felt to me like the whole race, they were so paranoid about ruining the title battle, and they had this perfect scenario where, you know, they could go into equal points, or it would still be really close going into Abu Dhabi, and they wanted to do everything they could to make sure that didn't happen. It wasn't great, was it? And I think, the way Michael Massey words stuff probably doesn't help, because it needs to be like, this is happening. I'm the race director. I don't care what you guys say. It's my decision.
Exactly. Needs to be much more stern, much more confident, and say, like you guys have alluded to, I call the shots. What I say goes. Otherwise, if you give an inch, these teams will take a mile. We've seen in these high pressure atmospheres on the pit wall, like, it shouldn't be that race, top sporting directors and stuff in the team are shouting back and talking over the race director. It should just be a case of, it's black or it's white. This is your penalty. If you don't do it within, like we said, if you don't give the position back in 3 laps, then you will get a penalty. End the call. Instead of just like him going, oh, okay, let me get back to you. It needs to be like, listen here, punk. If you don't do it, I'm going to get cross, and you don't want to see me when I'm angry. What we need is Michael Massey to turn into the Hulk, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, but then again, he might even do even more brash decisions if he turns to the Hulk. Who knows? But yes, this is good fun, isn't it? What a lovely podcast we've got going.
Well, I feel like I'm getting a lot of aggression out. This is like therapy.
I'm feeling
it's
better
good.
already. I really am. Next question comes from Jack Brecht. Says, should the teams have less communication with the FIA? It seems now the teams have too heavy of an influence in decisions and constantly pressure Michael Massey into siding with different views and opinions. I think this goes down to FIA team radio personally, and what we get an insight for during the broadcast. I don't think it's ever been any different. I think the teams have always been on the phone complaining, moaning about everything and under the sun. So no, I don't think there's anything that's changing there. I genuinely think this has been like in Formula One since communication began. Yeah, and I think it is important because we had team radio of like Fernando Alonso, for example, when there was all this debris on the track, saying what poor conditions it is. And we need that input from the drivers to maybe Alonso
say...
down in 14th asking for a safety car. Oh, yeah. I wonder why he was asking for that.
It's true. But also, these drivers are going to know better than anyone at the debris that might be on the racing line or this kind of stuff. So I think it is important to get feedback from them, like Seb, for example, in Spa, saying this needs to be red flagged or, called off. And look what happened. There was a crash and it got red flagged. If they had listened to Seb sooner and taken on board his opinion, maybe certain things could have been avoided. But yeah, I think that line of communication between teams and drivers and the FIA is an essential part. And I think it would be daft to cut that. I think it would be probably actually more dangerous than anything. But I can see where Jake is coming from, in that some people are taking it a bit too far and trying to bargain with decisions that should be final.
Yeah, and I wonder how much that goes into the last question, where they know they can do it with Massey because he's not as decisive. And then therefore they push it and go, maybe we can get him to change his mind here, because we'll just keep going at it until he changes his mind.
Maybe he will just buckle every time. Next question, Jealous_Jansen. Lewis had ample opportunity to overtake, according to the stewards, but he chose not to retake the position. Max is now getting punished both for slowing down and for not giving back the position. Do you, like me, also think the penalties are contradictory? That's a fair point, Jealous. I guess in some ways, I think the problem of firstly, the fact that there was a delay after that incident is probably the FIA going, oh, so what now? He was told to give the position back, but he didn't take it. So I can understand in some ways how that can be confusing. That's kind of thrown me a little bit, because what do you think, Tommy?
Yeah, the whole thing with the Verstappen slowing down, not giving the position back, for me, it just needed them to just get on the radio really quickly and just basically explain what was going on, which they didn't, and no one seemed to knew what was going on. Hamilton letting him pass. I mean, yeah, the whole situation with the crash for me is an absolute joke, because going back into the fact that I think that they're very lucky, and the teams, the FIA want to keep the title close. It was actually interesting that I don't think Hamilton, as this person says, like he had a chance to overtake and he didn't take it, Hamilton. And you could argue that by him playing DRS chicken and not going for the move, say Max hadn't slammed the brakes on, which is awful, but like say he hadn't, and he had just slowed down and Hamilton crashed into the back of him, Hamilton should have just made the position. And if he'd got a reprimand for that, which I don't think would be too outrageous to give Hamilton a reprimand, to be like, you have slight fault in this because you played your part. You meant to just overtake a slower car and you didn't.
That would be his final reprimand, wouldn't it?
It would be his final reprimand, and he'd get a 10-place grid penalty. So I wonder why he didn't get one. Equally, I wonder why Max Verstappen only got a 10-second penalty.
Hey, where's our tinfoils at? Tinfoil hats at?
Yeah, because I personally think that Max Verstappen, you could argue maybe even, he's extremely lucky to, if you're going really hardcore with it, to not even have been disqualified from the race with like all the incidents. And the thing is, the penalties are a joke anyway, because what it's saying is Max Verstappen can brake test an opponent, run wide, and it doesn't matter because your car's so much quicker than everyone else that you've got a gap and you can just do whatever you want until, you get penalties that just knock you down. Do you know what I mean? Like what is a 10-second penalty for brake testing if you've got a 10-second gap?
It's absolutely insane.
It's mad, isn't it? So, that to me screams that they didn't want to affect the title with Hamilton and Verstappen and meddle with it, and they're just sort of really hoping they just get to the end of this season and go back to the old days where one team dominates and they don't have to make big calls.
Yeah, no, I think that's bang on. Even when we were waiting for a steward's decision, I was thinking, I can't imagine this is going to be too crazy. I think Verstappen, I agree with the stewards in that Verstappen was predominantly at fault for it. Of course, like we say, why did Hamilton not go for the gap if that was a slowing car? Verstappen, I mean, he'd already reported that he had some power issues earlier in the race. What if this was the battery that gave up or something to do with his PU just quit? Would Hamilton have still been as slow and suspicious. He said afterwards, Hamilton, he was certain that Max was playing some sort of game because, like we said, the communication wasn't there. He wasn't being told that Max was slowing to give him the position back. But I had assumed that either no penalty would be given, so that we did go into the final race with the narrative of them being tied on points. Like, this is the kind of stuff F1 are going to have wet dreams about, because think how amazingly you can commercialize this whole thing. Like, it's not happened since 1974, since the drivers have gone into the final race tied on points.
It's only happened once. That was the one time, wasn't it?
Yeah, literally. And they're probably thinking, oh my God, all our Christmases have come at once. This is amazing. And like you say, a 10-second penalty for that incident. One, it's like giving Mazepin a 5-place grid drop when he's already P20. It does absolutely sweet.
It's like the meme of the swimmer with the bottle of water pouring over their head.
It literally is
100%.
But we know that they're in their power to give time penalties. They're in their power to give grid penalties. And for me, a time second...
And they investigated it after the race, didn't they? So that then gives them the power to do anything for the next race.
Exactly. In theory, like we saw, in Austria, when it was either Austria or Styria, it was at the Red Bull Ring, and loads of drivers sped through the double wave yellows at the end of the race. I think it was in Austria because that's when Kimi and Seb came together. And because it was done after the race and within the final few laps, what would have been a 10-second stop and go was converted into a 30-second penalty. But here it's just a 10-second. And I don't know. I don't want to sit here and accuse the FIA of doing it.
This is a safe space.
Michael Massa will be after me, babe.
It's so obvious. It's so obvious. I'm sorry. It's not even a debate. Like, they've got the perfect title showdown. Like I say, Hamilton could have easily got a reprimand. Max probably should have even been disqualified from the whole race, or given a grid drop for the next race. Hamilton could have gotten a grid drop for the next race because of his reprimands. But this is the perfect way, go into the title finale. It's so obvious to me.
What I want to question is, I don't think it's come out, but Mercedes, why are they not appealing that particular penalty decision? Because in the literal document, it says that Max brake checked Lewis in so many words, right? It says that
arguably one of the worst things you can do in a Formula 1 car.
At the very least, that is a 10-second stop-go penalty converted into a 30-second time penalty. There's no way in hell that's a 10-second penalty. 30 seconds drops in behind Bottas and Ocon and maybe a few other drivers as well. So I say I can't get my head around it, but I also can, because as you say, Tommy, it's very clear what they're trying to do. But I find it very strange that Mercedes haven't piped up a bit more about this and what the penalty was, because they have rights to appeal that, right?
I mean, in looking at Baku, for example, back in 2017 with the whole Vettel and Hamilton, who brake tested me incident, Vettel was given a 10-second stop and go penalty. So not
just for turning into him a little bit.
Yeah, not a 10-second penalty like on your time, 10-second stop and go, which means you have to come into the pits, lose all that time, which probably after the race would be a 30-second time penalty. So why has this? I think it's all very,
something much worse.
It's very suspicious. That's all I will say. But
it's DRS chicken gone wrong times 1,000.
Eh?
But hey, look, loving this podcast. Hey,
happy
everybody
vibes.
Enjoying themselves. Leave a like and subscribe. Woo! Okay, let's get to my 3-word race review. F me sideways.
For God's sake.
That's literally what I said when Tommy asked me for my 3-word race review, because I was still very much in shock. I'm still in shock. So welcome to my 3-word race review. I mean, does it need any more? Do I need to explain why I put that? Probably not. Let's go into a question. Geordie Winters 15. That race has to be the biggest joke of the season. Oh, inject it into my veins. Let's get it going. Even without the Hamilton-Verstappen controversy, it was too dangerous. Track is really not up to the standard of F1. And hey, this isn't what Geordie says. This is what I say. We're back in 3 months. Just over 3 months. We're back in Saudi again. The track, what I can't get my head around, right, is that Herman Tilke and his son, Karsten, I think, sat down with a blank piece of paper and went, hey, what are we gonna draw today? What are we going to make today? Okay, they want clearly Saudi wants something, a tagline to go with what they have as a circuit, the fastest street circuit in the world. Okay, cool. How many blind corners do you want? Yes.
Did you not hear though on the grid when Brundle asked him, and he was pretty much alluding to, well, this is all I could do because I was given this long, thin.
You've got
strip.
the sea one side. You can't exactly build onto the sea.
Yeah,
Can't
exactly.
do Mario
So
Kart
true.
style.
But I mean, have you seen Saudi Arabia?
Like, there's deserts everywhere.
But the thing is, I think Tilke was trying to say, like, I was given this plot of land that's a really, which is probably why it looks so different. Like a knife that Crofty didn't say. Sorry, Katie. But yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, I mean, then I guess the only other thing they could do would be to just make it like Avis in the 1950s. Have you ever seen that? And just two massive long straights, and then that would it be even more dangerous? I don't know. Maybe not actually.
or hey, how about this? Why did we even race there in the first place? Who knows? That's another topic of conversation.
Money.
The thing is that that track, there were so many sketchy moments. I mean, Mazepin's very lucky that he didn't end up in an F2 situation, which thank goodness, for what I've read, that Enzo Fittipaldi's only hurt his fractured his ankle, I think.
Yeah,
which is insane because it's when a car does that, you fear the worst. And the Mazepin incident looked really nasty, and it's just one of those things where as soon as a car's like sideways across the track, like imagine if that was on the high speed section.
Yeah, that no one can see it.
No one can see it. Yeah. Everyone's just plowing in. You're having a Spa 98 kind of crash, but even higher speeds and walls either side, so you can't really do much. And there was the whole problem with the fact that they had to throw constant VSCs for debris, and you wouldn't want to be a marshal going onto the track at a blind corner. And even though they're telling you, go now. Okay. I can't see round the corner, but okay, I'll go. And I don't know if that's part of their job, but
because there was a lack of competence with the flags as well, wasn't there, this weekend? Like we had in free practice, didn't we, with Mazepin and Hamilton? There was no white flags being flown for Hamilton going slowly and things like that. And obviously you mentioned as well earlier, Katie, with the Formula 2 and the car stalled on the grid, there wasn't any flags for that either. So clearly there needs to be an investigation, a look into why it was so chaotic. And fair enough, we do have dangerous tracks on the calendar, but
Baku.
But
it did seem like Baku. But
at least with Baku, you can see where you're kind of going. And anytime you're going around a corner, apart from maybe one or two corners, it's a 90-degree like braking point. You go into the blind corner at probably 100 miles an hour rather than 180, which is I guess the whole world's fastest street track. Changes need to be made. I don't think that they can leave it like that, because I was genuinely nervous watching the action. I was quite happy to see us get out of there with no serious incident. Of course, we had the Formula 2 incident, but in Formula 1, I was expecting something maybe even worse, but thankfully we didn't. I don't know what they can change. Make the walls transparent. Who knows?
Didn't you publish something just recently, Katie, about George Russell saying that the track? Did he say the track needs to change or something? Like he wasn't happy either, was he? And he's the GPDA director, yeah.
Yeah, no, he was saying that, what was the quote he used? I was like, oh, George Russell, that is a spicy young man. He said that it's a great track. Through turns 3 to 7, you couldn't see anything. Cars were everywhere, but it's a recipe for disaster. And when you've got the director of the Grand Prix Drivers Association saying that, then, honey, you're not in a good place. No. He said, definitely needs a rethink. And if we do need to come back next year, which I guess we are, I think there are definitely some things that we need to modify to make these kinks just straight, because it's so blind. We have already seen too many incidents waiting to happen. I'm amazed, genuinely amazed, that we had a clean first lap. I was so full of nerves and thought this is going to be awful, especially after what we'd seen in F2. I know that was more a case of just a car stalling on the grid rather than actually the volume of people going to turn 1, for example. But it's I think there are definitely things we can do to make sure that this is safer. Like George is saying, maybe get rid of some of the kinks. Do we need 27 corners? Probably not.
No, we don't. No, we don't.
And even like watching the onboards and stuff, some F1 tracks are referred to being on a roller coaster. Maybe that's more the undulation than the actual like left, right. But with this circuit, watching an onboard is genuinely terrifying, because obviously these drivers know which way they're going to go next, but it's more what's around that corner. I know that we have things in place like flags and things on dashboards to alert people when others go off and stuff, but and there's always going to be things like this on street circuits. And that's one of the reasons why I love street circuits, is because it's so like there's no room for any kind of margin for error. But yeah, it shouldn't be that we're going to a track and the first thing on everybody's mind is, I wonder if there's going to be a big crash here this weekend, which could potentially be unavoidable. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see if changes can be made. They've built the street circuit in record time. I think it's like 8 months anyway. So hopefully they can make some changes in 3 months.
You'd like to think so. And it's, the decision just needs to be made very quickly so that they can get this in place for next year. And I don't see any problem with getting rid of some of the kinks, to be honest with you. So fingers crossed, because even qualifying was dangerous with the drivers slowing down in certain areas and whatnot. So yeah, fingers crossed they'll do something about that. Next question. The Mad Hiker. There shouldn't have been a red flag after Mick Schumacher crashed. This could have saved a bunch of the problems ensued. Thoughts? No. I did tweet, and a lot of people misunderstood what I meant by controversial, but I mean, it was controversial putting the red flag out because of the changes in the championship and how some people, like the Mad Hiker, may think that the walls were okay, but they had to make those precautions. The problem was the delay in throwing the red flag. If they'd thrown it straight away, they wouldn't have had any of these problems, and everyone would have stayed as they were. So I think both of you agree with that as well, that the barrier needed.
Yeah. We can't sit here and slate Michael Massey and the FIA and then be like, no, just leave the barrier unsafe. Yeah, come on.
Just race. Oh, come on, let's go. Team WTF1 member Alessandro, do you think the FIA should have disallowed tyre changes under yellow and red flag conditions? Feels like the pit strategy was not existing as all the tyres did their tyre changes under the red flag. In my opinion, yes, I don't like to see the tyre changes. Personally, Tom is shaking his head. I don't think unless, I don't know, because obviously they do it, I guess, for tyre safety as well. I'm not sure why they.
Yeah, I guess if you go over debris or something, you need to be able to change your tyres.
Yeah, that's true. I'm changing my mind on the spot. I don't. It obviously does change the complexion of the race, but then I suppose at the same time, red flags like safety cars, they change the complexion of the race as well. So. There were 40 laps to go. It's not like it ruined the race completely. We had many years ago in Monaco, didn't we? Where who was it? Was it Vettel that was?
Vettel was out really front, and you can have this epic finish, and then they all got to change it. It kind of killed it a bit.
Yeah, which kills it a bit. So I guess I'm neutral on it. I don't really mind.
It's the luck of the. It's for me. It's the luck of the draw. You kind of alluded to it, that the weather, the safety cars, debris, pit strategy, it's all part of the variables of Formula One. And yes, when you get screwed over by it, you probably hate it, as Lando Norris was very vocal about it. Hamilton was obviously very annoyed about it, but then he arguably is the biggest gainer from red flag rules in the entire season, because he got to change his car, fix his car at Silverstone, and also got a lap back in Imola. So you could argue that he probably got about 40 points out of red flag rules. So yeah, it's one of those things for me. It just is what it is. And it's a very rare occurrence. But that's part of F1.
Exactly. I mean, like, look at Baku this year when we had the red flag with 2 laps to go, and everyone could pit and change for, maybe a fresher set of the softs or whatever they had left, which made the sprint so much more exciting. And yeah, I think the rules have probably been introduced for, like we said earlier, like if you have to go over debris or debris. I don't know why I keep saying debris. That's
either or.
Either
Tomato,
or.
tomato.
The brie is a bit
Exactly.
American, yeah.
The
It's
brie.
too much
brie.
American telly. So I think it's a fair rule to keep. There are a million other rules that I'd rather get rid of first before getting rid of that. But like you said, it's kind of
Q2
just luck of the
tire
draw. Q2 tire rule, and the one where if you cause a red flag or like a yellow flag in quali,
One lap quali.
you lose your lap time. One lap quali, yeah.
Well, just for Q3, that's what we think.
We fixed
Q3
it.
should be one lap shootout.
That's in
Q1 and
charge.
Q2 should be just normal quali as we have. That's what we discussed in the
Beautiful.
quali watch along, didn't we? Lovely stuff. But yeah, I guess coming back to the red flag stuff, I guess it would be dangerous. Say we have 25 laps into the race, everybody's on kind of older tires, and then we have a race start with those tires because they won't be able to get tire temperature as well and things like that. So understandable. A, B, C, D, E, F, one time.
We're here.
Finally, press the button or not. I don't know. Why has Verstappen not got a grade?
Well, because I was saving it to the podcast because they were tied on points this morning when I was filling the sheet in. They're still tied on. It's still tied on exactly the same amount of votes.
Between what?
A and F.
I'll put it in the sheet so you can see.
I bet it is between. Oh wow. Okay. Right. Here we go then. A B C D E F one time. Let's do this. Let's start with Lewis Hamilton. I am going to have to give this man an A star. He managed everything that was thrown at him.
I disagree.
He crashed into the back of Max. A.
Yeah, I've gone for A.
I was going to say A star, and I was like, wait, hold on, that happened, and he was.
It wasn't a perfect run, but
no,
yes.
For somebody that was called into the steward's office as much as Lewis Hamilton this weekend, I don't think I can give him an A star.
Fair. I'm glad I changed it before you guys said it. The fans gave him an A star. So wow, there you go. Bottas, good old Valtteri.
Nearly went up the back of Max at the start. Woo, that was close.
Yeah, so did Perez, to be fair.
Yeah,
that's insane, isn't it?
That felt like about 5 years ago.
I know, literally. I just sat there before Internet Best Reactions going, what happened in the first 15 laps? I'm going to give Bottas a B. It's on the front row of the grid.
Yeah.
Nowhere.
I think he could have got, well, I guess all you need to do is get past him at the end. And he
only
did right
just
at the
beat
end.
Ocon on the line for a podium.
Yeah, exactly. B just.
Yeah, I think high B.
Was that going to be an A? Was that going to like close to an A, Tommy? Was that for you?
No, mine was close to a C. Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Katie was like high B. Interesting. But we all agreed on a B. And the fans gave Bottas an A. Everyone's feeling very generous.
Getting to the end of the season, they're like, look at Christmas spirit.
Max Verstappen. Oh, God, I'm going to say it. D.
I've gone for a C.
Yeah, I've gone for a C.
Okay, that's fine. We don't have to agree. It's fine. But, after all your comments, Tommy, you've said a C. That's very, very interesting. Yeah. I thought you had gone a harsher.
Well, he still finished second, didn't he?
But no, but we're not talking about the result here. We're talking about more than that.
Whether it was fair that he finished second.
More than that. Okay. You're going to stay with the C? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
The Max Cape took over you as you were.
I mean, you can't, like, one thing I would argue is, this is where I bring all my fanboy back now. One thing I would say is I do kind of get Max's point when, in my opinion, the 5-second penalty for him pushing Hamilton off and him cutting the first chicane, I do get the point that he was like, well, it was fine in Brazil. Why is it not fine now? Like, that is on the stewards, really. Like, I don't agree that it was fine in Brazil.
Yeah.
But if in Brazil they told you it was fine and you do it again and then you get a penalty, you've got every right to be a bit miffed about it.
Yeah, I guess maybe he was more obviously out of control of the car. I don't know. The stewards, as we've already mentioned, absolute carnage. So we gave Verstappen a C, and the fans gave him an A or a B. So because it was tied on points. So what are we going to give him then? We decide if it's an A or a B from the fans. I think.
Let me refresh the page and see if it's changed.
There, go on, refresh. See if it has. Has it changed?
No.
No. Okay.
Is it actually bang on equal?
475 votes for both. Yeah.
Wow.
Well,
Well, let me
And
just
bearing in mind, when people
Tommy's
vote,
going to go stick his...
but yeah, Tommy's like, "Doof, A."
I mean, you would have gone for a B, wouldn't you, Tommy? That's the closest one to yours. So, okay, let's give Verstappen a B from the fans. Sergio Perez, out-qualified by Leclerc, then got crashed into by Leclerc, or crashed into, tagged. So, going to have to give him a C.
Yeah, C.
C as well.
Yep, C from the fans as well. Lando Norris got caught out by the red flag.
He was not
was
happy
unlucky,
boy about
yeah.
that, was he?
Yeah. But
Very unlucky.
did he get 10th? I think he got 10th in the end.
Yeah.
C.
Yeah, I think it's...
I've gone for B. British bias.
Unbelievable. Yeah, McLaren just seemed to have dropped off a little bit at the moment. Obviously, had to go on soft tyres to make it through to Q3. I think it's...
Is Lando
Yeah, qualified
actually...
his teammate. Pretty good.
He did.
7th to Danny Rick's 11th.
With all the
Then Danny Rick
chaos...
finished 5th. What a lad.
With all the chaos, Lando really is actually genuinely at risk at finishing 7th in the title after all this.
Oh, God.
That's insane, isn't it?
Madness.
I'm going to stick with a C for Lando. Katie, you a C?
I'm a C as well.
Okay, so C from us and a C from the fans. Daniel Ricciardo finished P5, had a good little race. Did old Danny, managed to keep Pierre Gasly behind. Was keeping Bottas behind for a long time as well. I'm going to give him an A. I think he outperformed that McLaren. I'm going to give him an A.
I too am going to give him an A.
Yeah, an A.
Okay, perfect. And the fans gave him an A. Charles Leclerc. He ended up finishing P7. Managed to, I don't know why the two Ferraris were fighting so hard in turn one. That was definitely some ego there. I genuinely felt like Charles Leclerc has been a little bit bruised this year from how good Carlos Sainz has been, and he wanted to have one up on his team.
If that Ferrari's quick, oh my days, next year.
Those two
are always going to be so good.
Fireworks. Yeah. And I genuinely think they will be. I think they will be right at the front next year. That's Charles Leclerc. I'm going to give him a B.
This race is so difficult because of the red flag. Like, some people got really unlucky, and I feel like he got really unlucky. But A. Yeah, A.
Okay. B from me, Katie.
Oh, I'm leaning towards B because of the the FP2 shunt, but then it's nothing to do with it. Yeah, he's watching it; it's his fault. But yeah, you can't deny that he did pretty good recovery. I don't like making decisions.
Decide.
B.
Okay, B. So we give Leclerc a B, and the fans gave him a B as well. Carlos Sainz, we're going to give the same grade, B.
Yeah.
Hello?
B.
This is a podcast, guys.
B.
You have to speak.
B.
Oh, it's so close to a C, but I think he gets a B.
A C for Carlos Sainz for finishing
even though
behind
Leclerc tagged
an A.
Perez.
Well, yeah, but he didn't know where really to go in that. I think that was just a racing incident.
Just unlucky position.
He started, but yeah, he was quite good in the race. He obviously had a disastrous quali, but
Sainz had a disastrous quali and finished 2 seconds behind Charles Leclerc.
I think that's really good. He's like a little rocket when he starts from the back.
Thing. Yeah,
when Carlos starts near the back, he makes up positions like nobody's business.
Yeah, decent B.
Yeah. B's fair.
Oh, you happy? Okay, cool. Good, Tommy. I'm glad you're happy. The fans gave Sainz a B as well. Sebastian Vettel had a very strange sort of grandpa versus grandpa fight between himself and Kimi Räikkönen. Obviously ended up finishing 16th. No, I didn't finish, actually. Did not finish the race at all after his car was just breaking after the contact with Kimi. It was just a bit clumsy with those two, wasn't it? It was just like, it felt like Kimi forgot what the next corner was because there was no way he was going around the outside at that corner. Vettel obviously understeered as well. Aston was so bad. I'm giving them he was actually on the fringes of the points before that, but then he understeered. I'm going to give him a D.
C for me.
C as well.
Okay, C from the fans for Vettel. Lance Stroll finished 11th.
Amazing that he finished 11th because I literally didn't see him at all.
Yeah, going to give him
I was like,
C.
he finished?
Out in
C.
Q1.
Yeah.
Finished 11th, not too bad. Obviously, there were quite a few DNFs. Pierre Gasly finished P6. I'm giving him a B.
Yeah, B.
Yeah, another solid performance from him.
And the fans gave him a B as well. Yuki Tsunoda was looking so good in quali. He was it was properly like on it, wasn't he? And then he felt like a stone at the start of the race. Then was coming back and then crashed with Vettel. It's a D.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you got off the hype train, Matt, now you got
I was on it. I was on it and very quickly off it.
You realised you made a mistake. Oh, Tommy's got a point to make.
Hello?
I've got a point to make.
Oh, God. Sorry, everybody.
Yeah, so Yuki Tsunoda.
Put down what they're saying.
No, but to be fair, it is actually, I think, is quite a valid point. For everyone that thinks that AlphaTauri are going to mess with the championship, they could have pitted Yuki Tsunoda at the end and didn't, which shows that all the conspiracy theories that think that AlphaTauri are going to
take away
for fastest lap and do this kind of stuff shows that they are their own team. Yes, they'll probably, they might do the odd thing where like when they're legitimately for position, fight a bit harder with Hamilton, but in terms of like doing anything dodgy or helping Red Bull, that's not going to happen because they could have easily just pitted Tsunoda. He was out the points, bang on some tyres, take fastest lap point for Hamilton, and they didn't. So it shows.
Or maybe they just thought Yuki wasn't able to do it. One or the other. But, okay, so Yuki going to give a D, and the fans gave him a D as well. Fernando Alonso ended up finishing 13th in the end. Shocking race. It's going to be a D from me.
Yeah, D as well.
Yeah, almost an E. I think he was.
Wow.
No, I'm going to go for an E. He's Fernando Alonso, and he's been absolutely. I think he had a really poor weekend, and I'm disappointed.
Wow, I can tell. Look at that face. God, he's angry. Okay, so we're going to give Alonso a D, unfortunately, and the fans gave him a C, which is very generous.
Plan.
Esteban Ocon finished P4 in the Alpine. I am going to give him an A.
Oh, come on. Really?
It's an A. It's not an A star for me. No.
A star.
Oh, it's almost an A star. I think he gets an A star. Giving him an A star. I think because he made a great start and he seemed a lot better than Alonso this weekend as well. Where I know he was obviously fortunate with the whole thing, but I think he did just drive a really good race. So
I think it's because he just lost the podium at the end. I was like,
that's not his fault. DRS is terrible.
That is his fault. Defend better. You know what I mean?
You can't defend a Mercedes with DRS.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Daniel Ricciardo did it for many laps. It's fine.
Esteban Ocon did it for many laps. Just one straight two.
Not enough. It's fine. Okay, cool. Well done.
Director, by the way, please get in the bin for not cutting to Ocon.
I know, what was he doing?
I was shouting at the TV going, Verstappen's crossed the line, show Ocon. You could see them swapping on the timing tower.
Yeah. And the Ferraris were really close as well.
That was genuinely made me even more angry after that.
So we give Ocon an A star, and so do the fans. Kimi Räikkönen, D.
D.
Yeah, and the fans gave him a D. Giovinazzi, what a lovely race from Antonio Giovinazzi. He was running in P7 for a very long time, ended up finishing P9. That is an A from me.
A, definitely. What a move as well on Alonso, is it? Around the outside?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
You don't do that to Fernando Alonso very often, do you?
And 9th. Fair play.
You happy with that, Katie? Yeah.
I am, yeah.
And the fans gave him a B. Come on, guys. Jeez. George Russell. Well, he was out of the race after being yeeted by Mazepin. So it's going to have to be a C.
C.
And the fans gave him a C. Nicholas Latifi. Also.
C.
Finishing 12th. But yeah, C.
Yeah, he finished ahead of Alonso. Come on, Nicholas Latifi.
Yeah, and Tsunoda. And
Tsunoda
did reverse over his own front wing. So
it's true, and his brakes were on fire, and it just seemed to be like
it's still a C.
I'll go B because it won't affect the actual overall grade. And I'll get good points.
The fans gave him a C. Nikita Mazepin, C. The fans gave him a C as well. And Mick Schumacher crashed. So it's going to be a D from me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
D.
I think that's fair.
And the fans gave him a D as well. Lovely. Predictions for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Now let me just get my bag. Get my bag of points, which I've already got. Add 2 more in there. My first one. One of the champ rivals makes a big mistake. I'm caught. Wait, I mean, come on.
Yeah,
That's
can't argue
it's a
that.
fair point.
That's a million points if I'm.
You don't even have to
You
argue.
can't try and
No,
get
I'm
more
not
than
arguing. I'm just soaking it in, everybody. And the second one, at least 2 safety cars. I can't believe I even had to say VSCs or SCs. Give me 18 safety cars or whatever the hell happened at the end of that. So that's a lovely maximum points from me. Thank you so much. I'd love to know. Has anybody actually racked up who's got the most points anywhere? I would love to know.
Not me.
Tommy, let's go with yours.
Yeah, Ferrari on the podium, nope. And biggest dry gap to pole this year, nope.
Well done.
Awful.
What was pole? What was the difference between?
It wasn't a huge
Like
amount,
a tenth or two, was it something?
Because Bottas, wasn't it? So.
Yeah, it was indeed. Katie.
I went for Crofty says the circuit map looks like a knife or a hair grip on commentary.
I never heard it. No.
So confident of that, weren't you?
I know.
I'm so upset.
No.
Why did you think Crofty was going to say hair grip? I'd love to know. Like,
because he comes out with the most random
just
rubbish
weird things. Gotcha.
sometimes. And if there was a red flag or something, I thought that could be the kind of thing that he spouts out,
Yep.
but he didn't. And then I said Daniel Ricciardo to be best of the rest, and I was
so
we laughed at this one in the pre-pod, and it was
we were
almost
like,
right.
nope. And
I would like to say that every single time I've said Daniel Ricciardo is going to either beat Norris or do really well, he does do well. So
Daniel Ricciardo is
congratulations,
winning.
you get a 0-point participation medal.
Yeah.
I love how literally he's finished P5 and we would think that would be best of the rest, and yet Esteban Ocon finished 4th.
I know. God's sake, Esteban.
Sorry, Katie. The
Can
fans,
I get half a point?
No, don't even try that. Daniel skews F1, at least 2 red flags. Yes. Kiss Barnab's 2, more than 5 DNFs. Yes. And unfortunately, F1 Aditya, Lance Stroll. Yeah, and Lance Stroll, top 4 finish. No.
One step too far from the fans, that one.
Yeah, but well done, fans. 2 points for you guys.
Woo-hoo.
And predictions for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. I've gone for one of the teammates beats the opposite team's title rival. So that'll be Bottas beating Verstappen.
Bottas being Verstappen. Or...
I don't think it's going to be Perez beating Hamilton personally. But and Ferrari best of the rest. Tommy.
I've gone for the title battle is a massive anticlimax because it's Abu Dhabi. And yeah, we'll see. And
you're trying to use your powers for the good there. I appreciate that, Tommy. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Kimmy wins driver of the day.
Oh, give yourself a point right now, why don't you? That is...
Can see that happening.
Yeah, we need to get a petition out for that, actually, to be fair. And Katie?
I've gone for a rather controversial one. I've said
Frank,
the championship...
Shut up. Come on, Katie.
The championship won't be decided by the checkered flag.
Oh, God.
Which I'm hoping is going to be the biggest jinx of the century, because I really can't be dealing with that because I have an annual to submit. And
if you want to buy the WTF1 annual,
yes.
you can check out the link in the description where Katie, the WTF1 author, has been working very hard on it. Thank you. Goodbye.
And also I said the circuit changes won't improve the racing.
Wow, you really are going for anti-jinx. That I love that. But yes, also they are minor changes, isn't it? They've got rid of the triple left, right, left thing.
The awful chicane, yeah.
Yeah. What else have they changed?
Thing. Yes, the second long straight, DRS straight, has now got a kind of banked, almost a bit like Jeddah turn 13, is it? The very quick left-hander. It's a bit like that rather than another awful chicane. You know, right at the end of the second DRS zone and the long back straight.
Yeah.
So you go
but that's the left, right, left, isn't it?
Yeah. The left, right, left. That's now just a sweeping.
Yeah. So corner. Is it just the one change?
2 changes.
2 changes. What's the other change?
3.
3 changes.
Oh, sorry. Wow. Yeah. And they've opened up the corners at the hotel as well. Okay. So they straight line, which is actually if you look at the podcast the thumbnail from Abu Dhabi last year, that is aged very well because they now straight line that chicane that we said they should do and go straight into the hairpin.
Oh,
then they go down the straight chicane.
Because I thought there was talk about the fact that they didn't do that first change because it's too fast near
the grandstands, but obviously they think it's fine now.
Lovely.
So that hopefully helps.
I think it might help a little bit, to be fair.
It will help a little bit, yeah.
And that will mean Katie gets 0 points. The fans, Milos Sablonsky, Ham Verbot, Ken Drink, one final classic Kimmy radio moment, and literally everyone, Hamilton and Verstappen collide.
Genuinely 99%. that took me so long to find two predictions other than Hamilton and Verstappen collide, just to put them in the sheet.
Amazing stuff. Right, that is pretty much it. We will be doing a midweek audio podcast about our predictions and thoughts on the championship showdown and any news and things that come out whilst over the next few days.
Otherwise, this will be 6-hour podcast.
Otherwise, it will. Tommy, final thoughts.
My final thoughts is, please keep it clean in Abu Dhabi.
Yep. Katie?
My final thoughts, I have two. The first one is the most important one, which is that I'm glad that Enzo Fittipaldi and Pocher are fine after their incident. And the second one, because I'm a sellout and you can't see it on camera, I'm wearing a WTF1 Christmas jumper. Woohoo! That says box, box, box.
You can find that on your nearest shop.wtf1.com. And yeah, look, I'm wearing one too, which has got a Christmas tree, but it's a Formula One cars. It's lovely. You should go check it out. And Tommy's not wearing one, but he's just wearing a normal WTF1 hoodie. Lovely.
Bar
Love
humbug.
all the merch. Amazing stuff. Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening. Thank you to the Team WTF1 members that are watching live this podcast. If you want to find out more about Team WTF1, there is a link in the description as well. And that is pretty much it. Thank you for bearing with us for this Saudi Arabian Grand Prix rant. This may well be the longest podcast we've ever done. I'm not sure. It'll be up there at the very least. And we love you very, very much. Please leave a like or a good review or whatever it is on the all audio platforms that you're listening on. And we will see you. Well, we're going to be putting out videos every single day, as we pretty much always love to do at the moment. So I hope you enjoy that. And we will see you very soon. 7 days time till we find out the F1 world champion.
Ready.
Just
maybe
soak it in.
No.
Maybe
see you
we
soon,
find
guys.
out.
Bye.
Bye.